Okay, spring is here and everybody gets spring fever. It's starting to get in the 60s and the 70s and everybody's starting to want to mow or put fertilizer out or put herbicide out. And really, when is the best time to do this? And you really do have to time this right. That what you're going to put out is probably not going to work. That's what we're going to go over in this video. We're actually going to use Mother Nature to tell us the times that we need to start doing things to our yard. We're going to catch all that in the video. Plus, we're going to do a little bit of identification. This is the perfect time of year to find out what type of grass you have in your yard for plant identification. So you know if you got ryegrass, bluegrass, tall fescue, what have you. This is mostly for cool season grass, guys. So let's get started. This is actually the yard that I overseeded last year in my overseeding video. I may be remastering it for a spring overseeding this year, but you can see the difference in how it's coming in. You can also see a little bit of yellowing in it. And this is probably going to be a lot on your all's yards. This is a great time of year. The first couple days of warm weather coming into spring is a great time to identify what grass you have in your yard. What makes it a great time of year to do this is you're going to see these genetic differences in the grass very predominantly coming out of winters. The advantage to doing a plant identification in your yard is you know what is successful. Is it tall fescue? Is it ryegrass? Is it bluegrass thriving in your yard? So that way you can seed those varieties that are working and even find better varieties on the species that you've identified. You can see some of the yellows in here. It's a non-turf type tall fescue. It's just a standard tall fescue, for lack of a better word. When we're talking about turf type tall fescue, we're talking about some of the very better varieties that I planted in here of tall fescue. Some of the greener areas, like right here, that's actually that greener, much higher quality tall fescue. Now, I could have came in here and smoked the whole yard with glyphosate and started over again, but quite frankly, I didn't want to go. I have got in this yard tall fescue, and I have got ryegrass. How do I know that? Okay, some of the identifying characteristics of turf grass is how it comes out of the sheath. That is called the vernation. It is either rolled like a newspaper or folded like a book. Also, there is the ligule, which is the membrane that is between the leaf that is emerging from the sheath and the sheath itself. It kind of looks like Scotch tape. That's about the best way to describe it. Also, the midrib of the grass. Does it have a midrib or does it not? That's one of the distinguishing qualities, because sometimes some of these tall fescues, particularly if it's a rolled vernation, it's extremely difficult to see if it's rolled or folded. If you see a good midrib in there, the likelihood of that being ryegrass is very high. Tall fescue does not have that distinguishing midrib. Bluegrass has a boat-shaped tip. It's like the front of a boat. It is shaped just like it. If you run your finger right along the leaf and you bring it all the way to the edge, it'll actually split at the end a little bit because it is such a boat shape, like here in this photograph. Now, what's the difference between bluegrass and annual bluegrass? Obviously, annual bluegrass is going to throw seed heads like this. Difference is in the ligule. That little membrane between the leaf sheath and the leaf, it is very, very predominant in annual bluegrass. That's how you tell the difference between them. The way to manage it, went over at my weed video that I just put out a few weeks ago. One herbicide you can use in it is mesotrione. That is in Sublime product I talked about. It's in Scott's for seeding. And it's also in torcity and tenacity. You can actually put all four of those out and you can seed right into them the same day. So those of you going out this spring wanting to seed, you can use that suppressor plan. You kill a lot of weeds. The Scott's for seeding actually has a starter fertilizer in it. It has a high phosphorus fertilizer in it. So do keep that in mind if you're going out. So that's something you can do starting out. Now, when do we want to start putting fertilizer out? It's real easy. Forsythia. Forsythia is a bush. It is brilliant yellow. You're going to be able to see it as you're driving along. It's pretty prominent in zones probably 9 to 4. That should cover most of you guys in the cool season grass area easily. But it's this brilliant yellow bush. When you see it bloom, that's when you can start thinking about fertilizing your yard. If you go out any earlier, phosphorus and potassium is not a big deal, but mostly what you guys are wanting is a greener yard and getting your grass growing. If you go out earlier with nitrogen, as I've said in my other videos, nitrogen volatilizes, meaning they actually lose it to the atmosphere. It can leach, particularly in the spring when we're getting a lot of rain, and it can also run off. Most fertilizers, got a fertilizer video, buying guide video coming up. Most fertilizers have a higher percentage of water-insoluble nitrogen, meaning they are a quick-release fertilizer. If you're using 100% water-insoluble nitrogen, like something you would get at your local ag store, it's 100% water-insoluble nitrogen, and within 2 weeks, most of that's gone one way or the other. It's either leached, volatilized, ran off. And if your grass is not actively growing, you have wasted your money. I can tell you one thing, just a few days waiting, maybe just a week waiting, will make all the difference in the world in the quality of the grass that you have. So if you wait for the forsythia to bloom, just about in full bloom, then you can start hitting it with your nitrogen applications. You can actually get the most bang for your buck. Same thing with herbicides. Went over in my weed video that I just put out a couple weeks ago, herbicides that you can put out in these colder temperatures. Speed zone is one of them. That is probably the first thing you need to do on your yard if you're just starting out, is get the weeds out of it. Speed zone is an excellent one for broadleaf weeds. That's primarily what we're dealing with in cool season grasses this time of year. Put out the speed zone. It goes in around about an ounce and a half, 1,000 square feet. Went over this in the herbicide in the herbicide video that I talked about a few weeks ago. Put it out. It does very well in cooler temperatures. The Sublime product that I talked about, it does excellent on broadleaf weeds. It also suppresses the poania. Speed zone you can seed 7 days after you put it out. Of course, the Sublime product, the Scott's for seed, you can seed same day. So those are a few things that you can be doing going into the spring. Last thing, and this is one thing that a lot of guys who have not managed golf greens probably do not know. Never walk on cool season grasses, in particular when there's frost on it. The reason being is what happens when you have frost on grass. There is actually ice crystals within the plant itself. And if you walk on it, those ice crystals will actually puncture the cell walls of the plant. It's actually not that big a deal when you have grass that is cut at a higher height, but it will purple it up. They generally will heal, but it does set the grass back. When we used to do on golf greens early in the morning, once when it got literally, we were waiting for out on the golf course, waiting for temperatures just to get above 32 degrees. And then we'd run the irrigation heads maybe a couple times to get the frost off of it. And we can get the guys out and start actually playing golf. Got a video coming up this weekend at 10 a.m. going over my Amazon storefront. I went through Amazon this winter, found all the products that at least I like. Makes it convenient because you can grab all these products that I go over in the video. If you want to, you can use an ortho-dialing spray to put out a lot of these products, particularly these concentrates. Calibration video on how to use a dialing spray to put out those products. Those of you guys who want granular, go with that Scott's for seeding. I'm agronomist Greg Phillips. I hope this video helps you. Good luck.